All right, so we're going to make a little space shooter today. We're going to make the turret in the middle. You could make this turret actually move, but we're just going to make it sit here in the center. So we're actually going to delete the cat. We don't need the cat. Actually, let's go ahead and make it. We'll do a ball for now, just so we can get something that's circular in the center. Let's set it to 0, 0. All right, so this is going to be our turret. We're going to go ahead and do costumes. We're going to recolor this to whatever color we want. We can delete all these costumes too. We don't need those. We'll make the ball actually later. We'll make that the enemy, but for right now, we'll just do this. We're going to fill it. You can do these. I don't know if y'all could see the, what's it called? Gradients. We're not going to do gradient. We're just going to do solid color. Make it whatever color we want. We do want a little gun on the side so we know which direction it's facing. Let's make this a little smaller too. You can make this however you want. This is actually going to be hidden by our planet. Make sure, like you see as I drag this along, you see this little black crosshair? That's the center of your sprite. So you need to make sure that that's lined up in the center, your turret here. Not like that. It doesn't. The size we can adjust later. And then we're going to draw a gun. You don't want the gun to be on the top. You actually want it to face out to the right. And the issue there is because that's 0, 0. So when it'll point, it'll make sense when we point. Do the point towards thing. We'll make the gun a rectangle, I guess. That's what I did there. Look at there. There's a little turret. In this case, it doesn't matter too much because we are going to cover it up. But the gun, I guess, does matter. That's the thing you'll actually see. Let's go ahead and make it space. You can make this whatever you want, but just this is just a demo. Where's our space? There's stars. Okay, and that's the backdrops. We changed the backdrop. All right. Okay. So we got a sprite here. We're done pretty much with costumes. We're gonna make a bullet in a second, but we'll do that when we get there. The code for the turret following the mouse pointer is actually super simple. We're gonna do events. Let me zoom in some. When the green flag is clicked, a forever loop, because we constantly want it to do this, right? We want it to constantly point towards, the mouse pointer. Done. Okay. Okay, that's it. Now we're going to make the bullet. The bullet's a little more complex. We're going to have to make a sprite. Let me see exactly how I did it on the Scratch. Let me see real quick. We're going to make a new sprite here just for the bullet. You can make this a circle. I made mine like a bullet shape kind of thing, so we'll do that. I'm just going to hit paint to bring us back into the paint editor. I'll zoom in a little bit. I do want to make sure that I'm on the center here, because if I'm not on that center, it's going to be weird when I try to rotate it. Then we're going to go ahead and do, sorry, I'm trying to pull up the other one so I can look what I did. I think I did a rectangle and a circle, I think is what I did. So I'm going to do a rectangle here. We're going to make it white, or close to white so we can see it. So we're going to do a little rectangle. Put that in the center. That's too big. So I'm looking at it in relation to the actual turret here. Let me zoom in a little more. So that would be the body of the bullet. And then we're going to make the end of the bullet a circle or half circle. I don't know what you call it. Circle. That looks pretty good. That's a little too. Black arrow, you can reselect it, shrink it back down. Make the bullet however you want to do it. It's not super important to how that works, but all right. So now we're going to talk about, that's good enough. We're going to talk about how to make this bullet appear. So first, let's rename this right to player or turret, or whatever you name it. This one's bullet. Now the bullet here, in old Scratch, you would have to actually create. You have to create like 10 bullets if you want to shoot them, and they'd have to be appear. You actually have to duplicate this 10 different times, and then the collision stuff got really weird and confusing. But What we're going to use is what's called cloning for this. So we're going to create one bullet and we're going to put all of the behaviors for the bullet inside that. And then we just every time we press the space bar or click the mouse, it will create a clone of this bullet. Okay. So the first thing we want to do is actually create the code for that, the spawning of the code. You could put this actually in the player, but I'm going to put it in the bullet for now. We're going to do events when the green flag is clicked. This is kind of like movement when we did the moving stuff. We want to say forever check. If, like when we did the movement, we did left key, right key, down key, whatever. We're just going to do, where is it? Mouse down. Okay, so that checks to see if your mouse button is held down. Okay, and see what I want it to do is when I do that is basically create a clone of itself. So we're going to go to control, and then you'll see down here, you'll have these hat blocks, right? But you actually have another one called here when I start as a clone. That's going to be what happens when I click the button. And I just want to create a clone of myself. You can actually create a clone of other things inside of things, but here we're just going to create a clone of myself. Okay, so what does that do? When I start as a clone, we're just going to do this. We're going to do it forever. I'll show you what it does. Motion. We're just going to make it move. Okay, so when I start, it runs this if statement. If mouse is down, then I create a clone of myself. Okay, every time it goes down, it creates clones of its bullets. And you notice they're just hanging out here. So if I did this enough, it would fill up the memory and then it would crash the game. Okay, so each time I click the button or hold it down, it creates clones. Now that's kind of what we want to do, but not really. What we need to do is move this bullet actually where this turret is and also face it to whatever direction of the turret is, right? So the first thing we want to do is actually just move it or go to player. When I start as a clone, go to the player. So now if I do it, it'll shoot from the player. It's still not doing the direction, but it's all right. We're going to do point towards mouse pointer. Okay, that's kind of the same thing we did here, right? Point towards mouse pointer for the player. So now it should. You'll notice all the bullets, right? They're moving along the screen there. Okay, so we probably want the bullets to be destroyed when it touches the edge of the screen. So let's do that real quick. We're going to do inside the if statement, after it moves, it's going to check, hey, are you touching the edge? Which is here, touching edge. Then just go ahead and delete yourself. Now, to delete yourself, because it's a clone, you use the block delete this clone. Okay, so now notice they basically delete themselves when they're there. Now, the problem here is this bullet actually is just hanging out here. We don't want that. We actually just want it to hide at the very beginning. So hide at the very beginning. But because it's hidden, we also need to show it once we create the clone. So it's actually there. You just can't see it. And now the clones will actually be shown. Cool. Now there's some movement here. You could actually make this bullet go behind there. We don't really care about that though for right now. We'll change that in a later thing. Is that all we want to do? Touching edge, moving. The speed here of the bullets right here. So if you wanted a slower speed of a bullet, you could do that. Oh, I know what we want to do. So as I do this, we probably don't want it to be like a laser beam. Maybe you do. We're going to add a little delay. And to do that, we're going to do wait, go to control, and then you'll see wait. So inside, after I create a clone myself, wait for some amount of time. I'm going to say like 0.1 second. So now it'll shoot a lot slower. Let's make the bullet speed back up to 10. Pretty cool. Yeah, I right-clicked. All right. So now you have a little bullet. Okay. You can add the code like we added from the last one. If you want it to add like an enemy or something to shoot at, let's do that real quick. We're going to change this later to be the ones that move towards the enemy. But all you have to do for the code here, remember, is if, I'm sorry, where is it? When I click forever, if touching a bullet, in this case, and this does check for clones as well, so it doesn't have to be the original bullet. When I'm touching the bullet, what do I want to do? You'd probably want it to destroy, but we'll talk about that later. But right now, we're just going to make it go to a random position. And you could have a score variable in there, just like we did before. Notice, like, there you go. So when I'm holding it down, now notice I can actually click and drag this during the game, which is not what I want to do. There is a way to change that. Where is it? Set draggable, I think it's here. Set mode draggable. You don't have to do this. We'll put this in at the end, like as a finishing stuff, but it's to false, not draggable. So now I can't actually drag it. I can't actually cheat. Oh, I drag the. Anyway, so that's kind of the idea right here. Got a little. Okay, we're going to talk about how doing the enemies. We'll talk about the score. We'll talk about all that kind of cool stuff later. But go ahead and do a bullet thing. You can add some enemies if you want. You probably could figure out how to. I don't know why the set draggable is not working. You probably can figure out how to make this enemy chase the player, which is pretty much just point, right? Point towards player. And then some move. Oh, put that in the forever, sorry. I keep hitting the drag for some reason. But there you go. I got a bullet. We'll do this movement and stuff later. I'm gonna take that out for now. Got it? Kind of cool. All right. If you don't like the mouse click, you can just change it to a space bar too. You would just change this mouse down to space bar. Touching mouse pointer, whatever it is. I'm sorry, where is it? Key space. So now if you press space, kind of gets away from the dragging problem that we had. So that's bullets. Okay.